I was so excited to get my shipment from Last Bottle Wines in the mail the other day, full of incredible red wines all from Napa Valley. I love wine tasting, so having this to my door couldn't be happier. Also, couldn't be more excited that today's episode is brought to you by Last Bottle Wines. If you don't know already, they're a Napa-based online wine shop with a twist. They offer just one handpicked wine per day until it sells out, and they're always at incredible prices. We're talking 30 to 70% off retail. And the best part is that there's no subscriptions, no fees, and no minimum purchase. And I could not be more excited to bring this offer right now because they're having a marathon sale, which is coming up March 28th and 29th. Even better, we're offering Dateable listeners 10% off your first order with code DATEABLE. So if you are a wine lover like me, this is a great time to join. And did I mention that shipping is 100% free? So what are you waiting for? Mark your calendar for March 28th and 29th, or get on it earlier if you want. You can sign up at lastbottlewines.com and use code DATEABLE and find out why Last Bottle is the most fun way to discover and buy amazing wine. As you know, I recently left my corporate job and I've been in total recovery mode, all about self-care. One of my new routines is the nighttime shower before bed. There's just something about washing away the day and that reflection that's been super helpful for me. I've been using one of our partners, Osea's Mega Moisture Duo. This combo body oil and body lotion are so freaking incredible. It literally feels like I'm at a spa. I realized that the secret is seaweed and other skin level ingredients that are normally reserved for face products. And that's why I was so excited when Osea became one of our partners. And, you know, we're so grateful for partners like this because one, they keep the show going, but they're also super good for all of our listeners and for our own well-being. So if you want to have that nighttime bliss like I am doing, you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at oseamalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. So head to oseamalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off. Let us know which products you end up going with. Share them in social. Super excited to see what you end up choosing.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. Each episode will not only offer you a new perspective on dating, but will also change the way you date. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating sociologist. You'll also hear commentary from my producer, Julie Krafchick, and other surprise co-hosts. Hey everyone, welcome to a special bonus episode of the Dateable podcast. Since we're in the off season, we thought, some of you are probably going to be online dating or still online dating, and it's time to really spice up your online dating profile, right? It's nice to just do a little makeover on
Spice it up.
on your profile. Even if you think you have a really good profile, there's always things to do to make it even better. And that's why we have a resident expert here with us. Her name is Courtney Kay. She's been on our show so many times. She's a matchmaker, dating expert, dating coach, and also just like all around dating guru who knows exactly what you should be doing this summer to spice it up, to make sure that your dating profile really reflects the best of who you are.
I think, as she just said, the dope dating profile.
The dope dating profile is what I call it.
Let's make it dope.
Yeah. Let's spice up our lives, like the Spice Girls say.
Yeah, just put that in your profile.
Spice up your life.
Court, what is the first thing that people should do?
Well, first of all, I just think people need to be honest with their profile. I can't tell you how often I hear people just complaining about the lies of, age or height. I just think, first of all, just be honest. That's just the number one thing. Like, people just these days, I hear it time and time again. I get on the date and then it's like, he said he was 6 foot and he's actually 5'7". Doesn't make anyone's life easier.
No, you show up and you see someone, the jig's up, right?
Yeah, it's like, real quick.
Or if you lie about your age and then months later it comes out that's freaking weird. So lying
about your job, lying about whatever. The truth will come out, so just keep it straight, narrow.
But there are some arbitrary numbers that people filter out. You know, like for example, 35 seems to be that magical age. If you go up above 35, people filter you out. 5'9" seems to be like that height where under 5'9" you get filtered out.
Yeah.
What would you do if you're a guy who's 36 and 5'8"?
Yeah. I mean, I would potentially basically do like put the lie in with the filtering, but then be honest in the actual written part of the profile.
I've seen those.
That says, hey, like, I don't want to get filtered out. I'm freaking rad. Okay, I am actually 1 inch, shorter. You'll know when you meet me kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's better to be honest that way. Yeah, then you still get in there, but then you still have the chance to prove yourself and you're still being honest.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think also, like, I was actually talking to someone about this, and their occupation, like, the way it was written, it actually sounded like they were, like, a police officer in the law enforcement, and that actually wasn't their occupation at all. And my point was, again, there's nothing wrong with law enforcement, but, like, if that's not actually what you're doing, like, maybe use not jargony terms of your industry, but actually like say what you do, more spell it out. It doesn't need to be like your exact title that you got at work,
right?
But like it could actually reflect more of who you actually are, so it could help you.
Yes, I remember I went on a date with someone who in his profile said that he was like a medical professional, but didn't specify if he was like an RN or a doctor, whatever.
A weed cannabis salesperson.
Or what, right? Like, so many things, but in it he's like, I'm saving lives. I'm really passionate about my work. And those are the things that drew me to him.
Yeah.
And when I met him in person, he took him a long time to tell me he was a firefighter. And it made me question him, not because of his profession, but because of the fact that he had to hide that into a medical professional and to basically lie about it and not tell me outright. It took him a long time to even get there.
And like, did he tell you why he was like not putting firefighter? Like, was there a reason that he had for why he thought women weren't liking that? Because you'd think a woman would be like, ooh, firefighter.
Right.
Ooh,
well, he said he didn't see himself as just a firefighter. He felt like he was really saving lives. He had like more certifications and licenses where he could operate or whatever. And maybe, I don't know what the technical things that he could do.
He's probably paramedic. That kind of thing.
But at the same time, that's not what I care about. I care about you being passionate about what you do. Yeah. And that's what I was drawn to in his profile, not the fact that he was a medical professional.
But it almost comes off like you were hiding something.
Yeah. Just like put it all out there, right? Like you could say I'm a firefighter who also does a lot of other things in addition to my role. And my favorite thing ever is changing lives and helping people. And,
this is why I love it, is because I save people's lives, right?
And then women love to hear what do you love? Like we want to get in there into like the real heart and soul of who you are. So if you can get into that in a profile, women are gonna love it.
Yes.
We don't want to have to guess and be like, I don't know what that means. Like, don't make it so mysterious.
I think that's a really good point, because we've actually talked to men too that are like, oh, I don't want to brag about my job, all that. And honestly, like they're like, I think they like err on the side of not putting anything.
Yeah.
And our point was like, okay, there are certain boxes that not every woman, but a lot of women are just trying to make sure like this person kind of has some of the basic qualities that they're looking for. So if you don't put something, we're going to assume you don't have it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
yes, exactly. That's what I was literally just having this conversation earlier at this event, because I talked to this really amazing guy who was a recruiter, who was amazing personal skills, like super socially intelligent, charismatic, very deep. I could just tell he was, a very well-rounded guy. We were talking about dating apps, and he told me that all he wrote in his dating apps is that he says a beard, I have a beard and I play guitar or something like that. Ooh. Very simple, like bearded guitar player.
Ooh,
and I was like, that's it? And I was like, so what happens? He's like, I don't get the best results. I'm like, I was like, you are so much more dynamic. Like, I just met you and talking to you in 10 minutes. Like, I know that there's so much more to you than just what you wrote in your profile. And he's like, yeah, but I get I meet people, and I'm like, but like, you need to give more, details and more explanation about yourself. Because I'm like, a lot of women assume if you only write like a few words, it means you don't care that much. You're just looking to play around. You're not that deep. We're making all those assumptions, like you said. We're going to fill in the gaps in a negative way. And I'm like, you're such a deep, smart guy. And he was relationship oriented. So I suggested to him, advised him that it would be good to fill out a deeper profile.
So is that tip number 2?
Yeah, deeper profile. Like just write it
Yes.
out. Like if you want a relationship, if you are consider yourself to be like a pretty smart guy, multifaceted, well-rounded guy, then you need to put more in your profile than just a couple words, because there's really nothing that comes out of like I'm a bearded musician. I mean, yeah, I love a guy that plays guitar, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love that. And I like a beard, but I still don't know anything about you, and I'm not going to pick you if I have another guy's profile in front of me that I actually feel like I'm getting a strong picture of them.
Right. You know, if I came across that profile, I would think it was a joke profile.
Right.
Or he did it when he was drunk.
Exactly.
I would never take that seriously.
Yeah. And I gave him that feedback, and he's like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I could see that.
And I've also heard this from men too about women's profile is, I mean, first, like people like will judge, and it makes it seem like if you're serious versus you're not, if you don't have any information. Anyone approaching anyone like needs something to kind of like latch onto. So even if you're just like a man or a woman reaching out to whoever, like you need something to go off of.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to give people conversation points. Otherwise, you're just going to get a hey.
Yeah.
Exactly. And with him, he's like, well, and I get where he's coming from, where it's like all this stuff is a shit show anyway. Like, who cares? Like, I don't want to put that much effort in. Like, who actually does put effort in? We all know it's so random. But I'm like, no, like, it actually does make a difference. It really, really does.
And
like,
you're not trying to appeal to the masses here.
No.
You just need that one good match.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's definitely like my second piece of advice for sure.
Okay.
I mean, number 3, I'm just like, please, for the love of God, just like have good photos of yourself. And if you don't know what good photos are, there's different ways to figure out what good photos are. And that's from my experience. I always tell people you got to get an opinion of the opposite sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so common that we ask our friends of the same sex, basically what they think of our profile. And of course, like they want to like be super sweet to you, and they're coming from a good place, but like they're not the gender that you're trying to attract. Say you're hetero. Basically, whoever you're trying to attract, that should be the gender of who's looking at your profile to let you know, like, those photos. Because I've learned that for sure, where I've had my girlfriend say, oh, those are great photos. And then I show it to a guy that I've dated in the past. I'm like, well, what do you think about these? He's like, no, these pictures are so much better. So get the opposite perspective. And then of course, like there's the classic, advice, but I'll go over it again. No blurry photos. Like that's number 1, like no blurry photos. No photos that only have sunglasses. So photos that actually show your eyeballs. Definitely not all sunglass pictures. Yeah. Definitely not all group photo pictures. It should be obvious whose profile it is right off the bat. The first picture should be just you, in my opinion, not anyone else. Yes, have photos of you doing a hobby that you like, something that you're passionate about, so that there's a conversation starter there that's obvious. And then you want to have a body shot as well as a face shot. You don't want there to be questions. You want it to be pretty obvious, because eventually you'll meet that person in person and everyone will know what's up. So,
So someone asked me the other day how many photos is enough. And I have a thought, but I would love to hear yours.
Yeah. Well, I think 1 is definitely no-go. Like, that's not enough. I think you need to have, like, at least, like, 5. I like more photos than
5
less.
is good.
I'd said, like, 4 minimum.
Yeah, I'd say 4 minimum.
I said 3 to 4.
Yeah, because, like, again, it's like, I feel bad because a lot of guys just don't have photos.
Right.
That's just not a thing. They're not like, ooh, bro, give me a selfie. Unless they're like...
they really don't have photos. Yeah. But 5 I think it's a good number, because the first 3 should be you, clearly who you are. Yeah. And the last 2 could just be silly photos. Like if you have pets, that could be their photo.
Yeah.
If you have a really cute baby photo, throw that
That's
up
true.
there.
It doesn't have to be current day. I think though, if you have photos that aren't working for you, I would
change them up.
Or like I would maybe err on 3 or 4 over 5 to 6 of bad photos.
That's true. I'd rather have 4 like crisp, really good pictures than like 6 where then the first 4 were good and the 2 I'm like, oh, I don't know actually.
Yeah.
Like maybe I don't feel good about this. Like you want it to be solid the whole time.
But I think 1 to 2 just makes it feel like not legit for whatever reason. So I think it needs to be at least 3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But ideally 4 to 5.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And if you're a funny person, then have a funny photo. It's basic stuff. But like if you're a humorous kind of person, like maybe there's a photo of you doing some funny stunt or prank or on a trip or something. Yeah. I've had friends who are like ridiculous humans, and so they've photoshopped in ridiculous stuff in with their picture.
That's great.
But it works for them. It's like, look at me holding a baby as if I'm a presidential candidate and like kissing a grandma, and it's all photoshopped and it's just ridiculous. But
I love that.
He's ridiculous though in person, and his profile is like, hey, like I'm a goof. Like, you like what you see is what you get kind of
But
thing.
on the flip side is if you're not ridiculous and
Right.
if you're not that funny,
Right.
don't try
don't
to
try.
force it.
Don't try too hard. No.
Don't try, because you're still
No.
meeting up in person. If you don't live up to the humor of your
Yeah.
profile,
Yeah.
then that's catfishing too.
That's
I
a
agree.
really good point, because like also I think it's like humor, but also being like cool and suave. Like if
Yeah.
that's not your vibe in real life, like
Yeah.
you're gonna have a feeling of bait and switch. So it kind of goes to
Right.
your first point of just being authentic of who you are.
And you don't have to be super funny. Not everyone's funny, and that's okay.
Right.
There's plenty of serious people that are happy to meet someone serious, and they don't want to meet that type of like crazy dude.
Do what works for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's definitely, is that number 3?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So then I got what? 2 more?
Two
Like,
more. 2 more
5
knowledge to
photos,
drop.
5 more knowledge drops. Yeah. So I'd say, okay, let's think number 4 is figure out ways that you can describe yourself in a way that in a short amount of words, you could actually like overall summarize kind of who you are. Because sometimes you read profiles that are like, I like tennis and I like to read, and it doesn't really tell you that much. Versus if you said something like, people refer to me as an old soul with a playful spirit. That's like a little bit deeper. Like some people could be like, a fellow old soul could be like, oh yeah, nice, me too. Like those identifying like tags, if you could think of it that
like
way.
that aren't generic
That
or
aren't too
basic.
generic. Yeah.
I really don't like it when people describe themselves with just very generic words. I'm adventurous.
Yeah.
I'm fun. I'm loyal. Like, that's great, but how do I know that you are these things? You're just basically throwing out adjectives.
Right.
But I love that, like an old soul. That's a very unique way of describing yourself. I also like it when people give like an example or an anecdote. That's more specific.
Yeah. Like on a weekend, you'll find me like either out karaokeing with my friends or like reading a book on Nietzsche or whatever. Like something that's like,
So much better,
like who are you kind of? Like paint the picture for me. Like what's your overall energy? And I think people have a very hard time explaining that. But the whole time I'm on dating profiles, I'm like, God, I wish I just knew if you also identified as being an old soul. Because like, I feel like that's like this thing. It's like common language that we have. Or if I knew that you were into like personal and spiritual growth, I would be like, heck yeah, I'm going to like instantly swipe on you. Like there's these kind of like things that we know about ourselves that maybe we want in someone. So if we could like know that in a profile, then it could be really helpful. Or if you describe yourself like, I'm someone who's into health and wellness, but I'm not a freak about it. Or you know what I mean? Things like that. I'd be
Love
like, oh,
it.
cool. Like that's my type too. Okay, great.
Right. But again, to your earlier point, do ones that actually are you.
That are you.
Exactly. Don't lie about it. Yeah.
And read a few other people's profiles because you don't want to be another foodie. You don't want to be another one who loves to travel.
Yeah.
It's like the same shit over and over again. And you think you're being unique, but if you read other people's profiles, you just blend right in.
It's so true. It's so helpful to look at people, again, like of your same gender, of like who the people are that you're matching with, what other profiles are they seeing?
Yeah.
And then how can you set yourself apart from that a little bit or just know like what other people are writing about? And it's so true. Like so many people say they're like, I'm a foodie who likes hiking and exploring restaurants in San Francisco.
And traveling the world. And I'm like, okay, that's everyone.
But who are you like besides all that, in addition to all that?
How do you feel about the list of places you've traveled?
Oh man, I don't like that one. You get to condense that so fast
douchey.
in one word, like, I like to travel. Like, I don't even know all the countries you've been to, all the flag emoticons.
know,
like, oh
it's
my
so
God.
much.
Or like the number. I don't like the
That's
number
just weird.
either.
Who cares?
I'm like, what does that say about you? That's great.
Right.
Or you were homeless for many years.
Yeah. There's plenty of people who travel who are douchebags.
Exactly.
Doesn't tell anything.
Doesn't say anything about your character.
Right. And it's like, well, what was it? I don't know what your experiences were like while you were traveling. I'd much prefer somebody who's been to only 2 countries, but they like really like had such an amazing time and they bonded with the people there and can tell the story about their experience in a meaningful way versus somebody who's been to 30 countries and it wasn't a very meaningful experience to them. And like, it doesn't say that much.
Right.
Just knowing
Or
that you
like,
traveled.
why do you love travel? Not like, I just do.
You just do. Yeah.
It's not like that's not going to be like a quality for a match anyways.
No.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like San Francisco tends to attract those kind of people anyway.
Yeah.
So like,
how do you break through?
it'd be rare to be like, I hate travel. Like that would stand
Right.
out.
That would actually stand out.
0 countries.
I am not a foodie and I don't like to travel and yoga sucks. Oh my
Right.
gosh, this
Right.
person would get so many
That's
matches.
We have so much in
That's like
common.
a great, like, sarcastic, funny photo. I'm going to try that that one. I like it.
Try that one.
Yeah. I'm not your
That's our new
typical San
test.
Franciscan.
Yeah, I love it. Okay.
I don't work at a startup.
Yeah, I'm totally going to do it.
Yeah.
What's number 5?
Oh my God, what is number 5? What is my last one? Okay, let's see how to make it. Good question. Yeah, what a good question. How to make it sticky, how to make it snappy. I mean, I think so much of it, we're talking about the basic profile itself, but I think messaging is so important, but that's probably a whole other topic, I'm guessing. So we'll just stick to the profile.
Let's take a quick break so I can tell you about all my latest discoveries from ModCloth. For months now, you've been hearing me talk about all the cute clothes I bought, but then I started venturing into all the accessories. Recently, I got the easygoing stroll mid-heel sandals in a bold orange color. They're comfortable enough for me to walk that 1 mile to work every day, but also so versatile that I can wear them out to happy hour. Not to mention the orange color is so in right now, and I feel like such a fashionista pairing them with complementary bold colors. At ModCloth, they believe fashion should celebrate all women, with their size range from 00 to 28. Their team of mod stylists can also hook you up with complimentary sizing and styling help. So listen up, because hurry, this offer is only valid for a limited time. For Dateable listeners only, you get 15% off your purchase of $100 or more, including all sale items. Just go to modcloth.com and enter the code DATEABLE at checkout. Again, that's modcloth.com and enter the code DATEABLE at checkout. So hurry to get that extra 15% off on all sale items through the end of July. Now back to the show.
So what I think is on the dating apps where you have the prompts, it's so important to pick the prompts that are the most interesting and near and dear to your heart and how you can sell yourself better. Because with some of these apps nowadays, you can choose what prompt you want. And so if you are looking for a deeper connection, pick the prompts that are deeper themes. And if that's that's too hippie and weird and vulnerable and I don't want to go there, then pick the more lighthearted ones, like what's your favorite food or whatever. But I think you want to pick the ones that are actually going to start conversations that you're interested in having.
Yeah.
Because people respond to those prompts. So what kind of conversations do you want to have? And for example, myself, I would want a more spiritual connection or a deeper connection. I'd probably pick the prompts that are going to initiate more of those conversations. Then if someone's oh, what's Courtney's favorite food? Pizza. It's that's not that interesting to talk about for me. But if it's tell me the last time I was scared and I answered that, and then somebody's wow, thanks for sharing that. I'd love to share too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pick the prompts and be thoughtful about the prompts.
I love that, because they are here to help you, so you might as well pick it and work to your advantage.
Right, and again, the travel one's so basic. It's easy to be last country you traveled to, Thailand, and then it's oh, cool, that's awesome that you were in Chiang Mai with the tiger. I was too. And that's a fine way to start a conversation. Right. But again, it's very the same kind of thing over and over again. And so if you get the same response to your Thailand photo from 40 people, how does that set itself apart? So there's some prompts I think that can add more originality and a little more different responses that kind of let you filter people out better.
Yeah, I like the prompts that kind of even let people even tell a little bit of a personal story. Yeah. It's nice people even tease it.
That's true.
Tell you more in person,
Exactly. And I
message me, right?
I love phone calls too, and I'm a big fan of trying to convert someone you meet on a dating app quickly to a phone call before a date. That's just a personal strategy of mine. And I think that the deeper prompts allow for that. Hey, this is too much to type, actually, but it's cool that you have this conversation that you're also interested in. Would you be game to hop on a phone call with me? I really love to make a voice to name connection. And usually my fellow old soul people would be I'm down to get on a phone call, and then we would talk.
Yeah.
And
the youngins are hell.
They're no, exactly.
What's a phone
call? But that I like that, because I'm ooh, I can't type all this whole story out. We have to hop on a phone call, and then it's an easy move.
Love it.
Yeah.
But again, if that's not your style, then by all means, don't pick that route. Pick a chiller, easier one where it's what's your favorite food? Pizza. Oh, sweet. I love Chinese food. Cool. Let's go to Mission Chinese. You know what I mean? It just depends what pathway you want to take.
Yeah, it's what you want to get out of it. Maybe you're just in a casual dating sort of phase in life, and your profile should reflect that. But if you're trying to find a deeper connection, I would do your profile think about your most ideal conversation with someone that you have a deep connection with, how would you answer these questions with that person?
Yeah.
And what kind of questions would you ask them? I also like when people ask questions in their profiles
Yeah.
because that gives me
That's so true.
an opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
That's a great first message for me.
I mean, I think what I'm hearing from all this is just like be yourself. Don't
Definitely.
try to like I know
Don't be
it's like-
basic.
no, but like I think like a lot of people are trying to like appeal to the masses,
sure.
and like the reality is like it's actually probably better to appeal to less people,
Definitely.
but people that like really could be a good match for
Yeah.
you. So this isn't a popularity contest
No.
unless
Yes.
that's your goal
Right.
for vanity swipes. And if you're actually trying to like meet someone, like you don't necessarily need to be everyone's cup of tea. So just be yourself. The truth will come out eventually.
Right,
So.
exactly. And if you're doing things and it's not working, I think the cool thing is that we can always play around with our apps. So I think, they always say like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over, expecting a different result. It's like, if you're not loving your results, then maybe like, again, consult another friend and say, hey, what do you think about these photos? Or maybe you hire a photographer that gets some pictures for you. Or
Change it
you change
up.
up your prompt answer that you did and see what kind of conversations that brings about. Or change up your written profile a little bit to tweak it. And have a few that you test out.
A/B
Just
test
try
that
it
shit.
out
Yeah.
and see.
But that is, I don't know how you guys did online dating, but when I was doing it, it'd be like, this is how I would swipe. It'd be like, no, or like, yeah, or a maybe, right? And the maybes you still swipe on because you're like, this is a maybe. If they swipe back and I get that match, really hard for me to carry on a conversation with them because they were always a maybe. And then when you get that match, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm so motivated to do this, to have this conversation. I have no reason not to have a conversation with them. I'm just not as excited. So wouldn't you rather be in the hell yes and the hell no
Yes,
camp
so
than in the maybe
true.
camp? That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
don't try to appeal to the masses. You almost want to put stuff in your profile that would either turn someone away or turn someone really on.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Where you see that thing in that profile and you're like, holy crap, that's so freaking cool. Like, I can't believe I have something in common with that person. Or like,
That's a hell yes.
That's a hell yeah. And you're absolutely going to respond to that person way faster than
Way
the people that
faster.
you don't know anything about. And you're like on that fence about, because, what'll happen to a lot of times women is that we do get so many messages and we are trying to figure out, okay, well, who do I like put to the top of the line?
Yeah.
So women always say like, does it even matter what I put in my profile? Women that
Right.
are attracting men, because they're just not going to read it. They're just going to look at photos. What do you think about that?
Oh man. Well, okay. So from my matchmaking and dating coaching experience, I will say men are very, very visual. That is so true. When I met women clients, it was like they looked at attraction as a whole with like personality and charisma and success and all the things with looks combined to make a decision about attraction. And men were a lot more linear, where it's like yes, no, attractive or not to me, then figuring out the rest. So I do think, unfortunately, a lot of men will just swipe on everyone and then they'll only like respond back to people that they're more into. But that's not all men at all. And I don't want to like generalize or, you know what I mean, like stereotype. I do think that men do care about looks. That's a big thing that they think about. But their chemistry, their whatever is just different that way.
Right.
I think for women, I used to do this. I would put something in my profile that it would be very apparent if you didn't read it. So it'd be like, I really like it when in your first message you tell me this about you. And if their
That's
first
nice.
message is nowhere near that, then I know they didn't read it and I don't need to really have a conversation with
Yeah,
them.
like you want the person to treat your profile as if it's a special, independent, unique
Of course.
thing, not that it's lost in the masses of other profiles. And so when a guy is actually able to be like, I spent time on your profile, I read it, I'm like intentionally, meaningfully sending a message. And I know that's hard, guys out there. Like sometimes you're like, well, I do that and I don't get messages back, so why am I going to spend the time to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I hear where you're coming from.
then
but
stop messaging so many
yeah,
women.
then don't message so many women. And just, if you do the same, like, hey, how are you? Or like, hey, you're cute. Like, it's not going to differentiate. And act like you read our profile.
Let's hold that thought for a sec. We'll get right back to it.
This episode is sponsored by Via. We all know there are things that can help set the mood in the bedroom, but did you know a little THC could also do that? Yes, Via has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a low dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. This gummy, wow, it will awaken your senses, increase blood flow, and intensify intensify any sexual experience. I've been pleasantly surprised by the High Love gummies because it is just the right amount of THC for me to have a good time without feeling sleepy. And hey, if THC is not your thing, Via also offers a wide array of other gummies without it. And everything legally ships in 50 states with discreet packaging directly to your door. So if you're over 21, you can get 15% off and a free pack of award-winning Dreams THC plus CBN sleep gummies with our exclusive code DATEABLE at viahemp.com. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Let the gummies work their magic. Head to viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off and one free sample of their Sleepy Dream gummies. That's viahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp. This episode is made possible by Badlands Pets. As you all know, Mojo, my precious baby, is the reason why I found love in the first place. He made me feel love again. So I would do anything to ensure his health and longevity. And actress Katherine Heigl and I have that in common. She's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation. And after doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to improve any dog's health, and that's their food. So fortunately, she found that just by adding a few special superfoods to her dog's food, she saw huge transformations in their health. So she's made a 20-minute video explaining step by step how anyone can do the same thing to see incredible changes in their dog's health. I've definitely re-looked at what I'm feeding Mojo and making sure that, hey, he only has one life to live, and I want to make sure it's the best damn life. So if you want to keep your dog healthy and happy, go to badlandsfood.com/dateable and watch Catherine's video right now. Again, that's badlandsfood.com/dateable. Living with ADHD can be a challenge, and dating with ADHD is definitely a challenge. We've heard many of you say, but finding the right care and proper tools needed to succeed can be life-changing. Done is an online ADHD care platform that can get you all the resources you need to help manage your ADHD. Online visits, refills, and a 24/7 care team made for you. In just 1 minute, Done's online assessment can help kickstart your ADHD treatment journey. With experienced clinicians, worry-fill refills, and online visits, you can start getting personalized care as soon as today or tomorrow. So contact an expert team that can help you around the clock and get a personalized treatment plan just for you. Here's how you do it. Take a free 1-minute assessment and book an appointment with a licensed ADHD clinician as soon as the next day. Get continuous care, one-click refills, insurance coverage, and 24/7 care team support with Done for just $79 a month, and pharmacy copays as low as $0. Visit get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. That's get.donefirst.com/podcast to learn more. Done. Turn ADHD into your strength.
So that's a good segue to our bonus of the bonus content of what's your
well, you know I'm always here to
your
chat.
secret messaging tip that you have for everyone.
Oh, a secret messaging tip? Yeah. Okay, well, so I'd say, don't start the message with the same like, hey, how are you? How was your weekend?
Please don't.
Those are just the same, the same things. And it's like, oh, it was great. I got brunch with friends. How was yours? Like, it's just not like that great. So I think it's better to find something in the profile that you're actually curious about and individualize it and ask them something about their profile. It doesn't have to be rocket science, but it could just be like, hey, like your profile just really caught my attention. I like this thing that you said here. You know, like I'd love to like hear more about that, or like what's your stance on this, or like whatever it is the question. And that's kind of it. It doesn't have to be crazy. Again, that's what I like, because then if it gets deep, then I move it to a phone call conversation. Yeah. With my dating profile, I'd usually make sure they had a challenge of some sort to respond to a question that I had.
I like that.
Before talking to you, Courtney, Julie and I were like revisiting some of my old Match.com messages from 2004. When there was no app yet. It was all through email.
Yep.
And all
for a secret episode that's coming in season 9.
But in this revisit of all these messages, I mean, they were all novels because people took so much time back in the day.
They did.
Because it wasn't like you can swipe through profiles and message people instantly. This was through email. You still needed internet connection and you did log into your email. So people were way more thoughtful in their messages. And I think we need to somehow reverse revert back to that or get some of that back because we can't just do this like mass message anymore. It just makes everyone fatigued. It pisses off everyone. It's annoying. And it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get anybody anywhere. It's a waste of your time.
Man.
I'm super curious. On Bumble, they have these like prompts that are like kind of like pre-done and like, I don't know, I'm mixed on them. On like some way, I think they're good because they're not like the basic, hey, how are you? How are you doing? And sometimes
Prompts for messaging.
Yes, prompts for messaging because they also have prompts on the profile, but prompts for messaging. Because I agree, sometimes it's hard to come up with something witty if you don't have a lot to go off their profile. But then they also kind of feel like a little forced and weird. And I wonder if men actually realize, because it literally takes like 1 second to write one. So I'll just be like, which prompt should I pick? Okay, this one. And it has like nothing to do with the person. So I wonder if men like realize that that's what's happening or they think they are like uniquely like that the women are coming up with these. Maybe if they've got
tell us.
or maybe if they've gotten the same prompt like 10 times, they're like, something's going on here.
Right. Like, what? Do they make it really easy? Can you just like press a button and it just sends
so
it?
easy. But they're like so random. They're like, would you rather be the smartest guy in the room or the funniest? Like, there's some of them are kind of cute, but they're also like, they're kind of just like, okay, that's so random. Why would you ask me that?
But don't you think that, okay, my argument is if you can't find anything in their profile to message them about, then maybe you shouldn't be messaging them at all.
I don't know though. I'm
But then there's like
kind
those,
mixed.
like that guy tonight that I met who was really rad. Like if you met him in person, you would for sure go on a date with that guy.
Well, that's
But I wouldn't even match with him.
You
in the
wouldn't
first
match
place.
with him, and if somehow you did match with him, you still probably like maybe wouldn't message him back because it was just such a boring profile.
Yeah.
And he was rad. Like he just didn't put any effort into his profile.
I don't know. I admit that my dating game on dating profiles is mixed. But like sometimes I'll just swipe and not read people's profiles. And then after I like match with them, then I'll read them.
Yeah.
So, and then sometimes like being honest, if there's an attractive guy, but like there's not much in the profile and it's Bumble,
That's
I'll
just
like,
human nature.
send them one of those crappy prompts, but I'll do it. And it's like, so I get like, like in theory, you shouldn't be messaging them, but sometimes you're like, I still want to message them, but they just clearly like didn't even put that much into it. But it's like, sometimes it's representative that they don't care, but other times it could be so many other things. Like the guy you met who just was totally clueless.
He just was totally like just naively clueless.
Exactly.
And he's new to San Francisco and like, I don't know, he just didn't really realize like the dating app world or what to do.
And he's got to stay competitive.
And that's the thing too, is like I love guys that aren't like super like necessarily active on dating apps. You know? Like,
exactly.
I don't necessarily want the
guy
super
who's perfect
suave
at
guy on
mastering
like that
apps.
has it like to the max. So
Right.
I don't necessarily judge someone poorly if they don't have it like 100%.
And that's the hardest part, like those hidden gems, and we want to be able to feel like we understand all their moves because behind the scenes women are like, oh, I know exactly what this guy's deal is. But we don't know because we don't know them. They're literally a profile and we don't know them as a human. And the whole point is to, you know, like I believe dating apps are kind of like introduction apps. They're not even really dating apps. They're literally just to get you potentially to a date that you can then, or just to hang out to decide if you even do want to go on an actual date.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't know what their vibe is or how you feel about them. And it could be friend energy. It could be, you don't know what energy you're going to have at all yet.
So my ex I met on Hinge, and he was definitely a hidden gem. Like his profile, I was like, he's like, you're like the best match I've gotten. I'm like, oh, your profile, you probably should lose some of the glasses shots, you know? Like definitely could have used some profile doctoring. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm kind of like digging that you're not like super polished. And I think it was the messaging that got me.
That's what, you got to save for yourself in the messaging if like the profile is lacking.
Right.
And I feel like my boyfriend now, like, you know, his profile, I was like, show me your profile. I want to see what you were working with back in the day.
Oh, he had one?
Yeah. Well, like, and I was like, wow, Tanner, okay. Like, I just know that if I took over his profile for him, I could seriously rock his world.
No, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, I
can't,
but
I'm not going to. I'm like,
Exactly.
I got you. My diamond's in the rough.
Right. You're like, I don't want to give you advice because we're in a good state right now.
I was like, oh, your profile's cute. Like, and it got like enough, you know, like he didn't have a really hard time with it, but I'm like, if he had known the tips of the expert, of like what we know.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
like, I'm going to selectively not share this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want you going on seven dates a week.
Don't listen to this episode.
Don't listen
Don't
to
do
this.
it. Doesn't pertain to you.
So I guess I'll do a re-moral of the story here is like, put your best foot forward, be authentic, don't be fake, but also like give people the benefit of the doubt too if they're not 100% polished also.
Yeah, give people the benefit of the doubt and see if over the messaging or over the phone call, you'll be like, oh, this is worth it. Because like what you guys said, like I think it's like there's either a yes, like hell yes, because you're super attracted to them or there's something in the profile. And we're human. So yeah, if there's someone we're extremely attracted to, like we're going to give them more benefit of the doubt than someone we're not as attracted to who doesn't have a good profile. But so you're going to have those big yeses and there's going to be the glaring no's. But then there's a whole chunk of people that are in the middle and that you don't know. And it really like could be changed if they bettered their profile or if their messaging or the phone call is really great. But those people in the middle, you got to figure out a way to convert yourself out of the middle zone. It's best not to be in the middle zone to begin with.
It's
be
not
middle
about, like, I don't like it when people tell me that they don't get that many matches. It's not how many. It's, do you get good matches? Do you get people you actually like matching back? That's when the problem arises, is when your matches aren't that great. It's not the number. Again, we're not trying to win popularity
there's
contests
no awards
here.
as far as I know.
I know the high school awards are over.
Yeah, right?
It's their popularity.
Right? Like
Most
what?
popular.
Yeah, there's no point in that. You just need one good match.
Right?
That's all it takes.
And I know it's hard out there, like I know there are like guys that's like, I just want a match, like some people it's like they just want to get a match. And so people's experiences on these apps are just so vastly different. And that's the hard part, is like you want to give just good advice and also sometimes the advice kind of has to be tailored to the individual to know how to work with their unique situation to get the best result. And that takes really getting to know someone and giving them that advice. But this is just general advice. But I would say that advice that I give oftentimes is really dependent on the individual.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I think, another, not to self-promote here, but we do the dating profile reviews, and Courtney could do one, and other folks that we have on the DATEABLE team. So I think if you want that one-on-one work, it's totally worth it. We've had a lot of people say it was well worth the time and money.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird writing about yourself, so that's why it's nice to give it to someone else. You can give it to friends, but sometimes it's nice for it to be someone who's getting to know you fresh without any sort of bias. So yeah, I agree with that. And, just keep going out there. Like I said, eventually, like it just takes one, and it's just about just human connection and lowering the expectations, the pressure we put on ourselves. And then also just like the ego and all that stuff that we have attached to it, which is easier said than done. But
I really love this. It's like the marketing speak. Like if you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
Yeah.
So I think that whole point of like not measuring success by matches is a good one. So
Yeah. And if you can even sometimes, what I find attractive too is if you can almost call yourself out in like a self-deprecating but confident way to do that.
Yeah.
That can be great too. Like you don't have to be like always the stunner and then whatever. You could be like, listen, ladies, I'm not the 6'4" like doctor, but you know what? I am that 5'9" like guy who's gonna crack you up and we'll have the most fun playing Dungeons and Dragons ever till 4 a.m. and I'm a walking encyclopedia full of knowledge, like whatever. Like just
I love
share,
it.
put it out there. Like just be honest.
I love it. And I think also just like one last thing, we had like a Donovan that was on our last season, on season 8.
The musician.
It was about dating rhythm and blues, I think we called the episode. And his whole point was that people judged him for being a musician, and he kind of tried to like hide it a bit. And our point, like one of our things was like, maybe you should just own it more. And it's like, you could even flat out say like in your profile, like, yeah, I'm a musician. I am not that unreliable, or like I don't fit the musician stereotypes or something.
Before you get ahead of yourselves, like, let me paint the picture. Like I love music, and also like I'm not, these things that you could associate with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you call it the elephant in the room, it's so attractive because you're aware of that thing that's there, and then you're like, boom, psh. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, here you go.
Very true.
Yeah, it's how you say it, too. Because there's ways to be like, to make it sound lame, and there's ways to say something and make it seem confident, even though you're kind of like, I don't know, saying something negative about yourself in some ways. Like, you can talk shit about yourself in a way that actually is confident. It's how you do it.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, listeners, hope that these are some tips that you can take away to jazz up your dating profile. But always remember, there's an offline world out there too.
There is. Meet people IRL as well.
The more you jazz up your dating profile, you should spend the equal amount of time jazzing up your real persona, which is you in real life.
That's true, because we've also had the situations where someone has killer dating profiles. and then it doesn't translate. So
There's a lot to talk about on the show, basically.
We could have a whole nother episode.
We could
on
have an
that
entire
one.
episode about how to leverage your network to meet new connections and how to have more of those in-person experiences. Like, I would totally share about that too.
Part 2. We're getting
part
you
two.
back.
2 bonus episodes. You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, we're wrapping this up.
Stay dateable.
Want to continue the conversation? First, tag us in any post with hashtag #StayDateable. Then head on over to our website, dateablepodcast.com. There you'll find all the episodes, as well as articles, videos, and our coaching services with vetted industry experts. You can also find our premium Why series, where we dissect, analyze, and offer solutions to some of the most common dating conundrums. To connect with us, find Dateable Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also downloadable on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast platforms. Your feedback is valuable to us, so don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. And most importantly, remember to stay dateable.